Welcome to On the Precipice MUFON Contact radio program with your hosts CJ Arabia and Richard Banasek, where discovery, disclosure, and evolvement meet. We are on the cusp of evolutionary realizations, technologies, and awareness, so come along and share in the adventure of discovery of who we really are and where we are going.
Here we go.
I'm digging the new music. I know Bill Skywatcher's in the background. You can't see him, but he likes that I'm digging that new music.
Yeah. It's very nice. Very nice.
Good to see you, Richard.
Good to see you, CJ. How's life treating you?
It's going great in the middle of the holiday season here in California. It's been raining, which we love. The rest of America always gets sick of hearing us say, "Oh, I love the rain," but everything's good. Just getting through the holidays, man. Age of disclosure.
Yeah. Everything that's just going on today, and so what's happening in MUFON news? And
all right, I'll start with the MUFON news.
I got some stuff to show for us, so you take it away.
I'll start with the legalese, the business. So we're always looking for field investigators, right? We need regular field investigators. We need experiencer resource team members. And the only way to do that is to become a MUFON member. So you go to the MUFON website, you become a member. I believe the least expensive membership is like $65, something like that, 60 in that ballpark. Don't quote me. And then if you want to become a field investigator, you reach out to the state director and say, "Hey, I'm a member. I don't want to become an investigator, or I'm interested in the experience or resource team." And that state director will guide you through what you need to do, the book you need to get, the test you need to take, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we need you. We need people. We get reports all the time, and all over the world and all over the country too, in places that don't have field investigators or don't have enough field investigators to cover the cases that they actually get. So I work for the Anniversary Feinstein on the CAG, which is the Case Assistance Group, CAG. And I'm doing a case in Tennessee right now. And it's fascinating. It's so exciting sometimes to get these cases. But yeah, that's why we need people. There's awesome cases out there that don't even have a field investigator in that area. So I'm doing the case. So we need more of you. And then
so we have also, like you said, your case is an ERT. So this is the Experience Your Team resource page on our site. So that's very encouraging. A bunch of our members and people who are involved. I know you're down there, I'm down there, and our team of psychologists, our medical professions, some of our counselors, our members, just people who are just involved. And
there's Anniversary. Anyway, you can get a look at the team. They're on the website. And then and then a lot of every state has people that work on the people in their state, and we're with Southern California, and Richard and I are both field investigators and both on the experiencer resource team. So then the other thing I would just say really quick is we are members of Southern California MUFON, both of us. And so we're going to start in January having online meetings that are open to the public. They're MUFON meetings, just like we normally do for our members in person. We're going to open them up to the public because so many people have questions for us and, want to learn. So we want you to join us and we want you to learn. But you're going to have to go to our website, which is SoCalMUFON.com. Or just Facebook, Instagram, just look for Southern California MUFON, SoCal MUFON. You can't miss it. You're going to find us, follow us. We're going to start posting who the speakers are each month. We don't charge a fee. We take a little donation to help pay for the website and stuff if anyone wants to, but you certainly don't have to. Mostly we want you to come to the meeting and check it out.
You want to talk a little bit about what we just went through with our meeting with the SoCal, with the guests that we had, and how that went?
That's my next paragraph I have written right here. I said the last meeting was memorable for sure. That's what I wrote out. Paul and Mary and Steve were there, our guests who we're going to be speaking to soon. But Paul Hynek spoke. He did a tribute to Earl. Stephen Bassett spoke eventually. He got the time mix. I guess there was a time change. So for a little while we hung out talking about Earl. It was actually a really fun meeting, kind of because Steve running late And then Dan Harari called Steve on his speakerphone and was like, hey man, where are you? Why aren't you at the meeting? And he was like, it happens in an hour. And he's like, no, it's happening right now.
Yeah.
So then he logged in while and I don't know, a lot of the people that came, like we were like, oh man, but people said they really loved the feeling of camaraderie, that it was, felt like a fun party. It was a lot of good friends chit-chatting and stuff like that. So, and a lot of people that just came because they loved Earl, wanted to show their support, and we appreciate that. Not everybody wanted to sit through a 2-hour meeting, but they showed us their support and we appreciated it. So,
right.
But what I'm going to talk about, I'm not even going to bother with a book because nobody cares about books right now or medical breakthroughs. They only care about The Age of Disclosure, which just came out. And I've seen it twice, and I'm just going to say about it because I know not everybody's seen it. But I did 2 screenings. I did one on Saturday. I invited some UFO friends. Yep. And then I invited like 5 UFO friends and 5 just friends from our regular life who don't think about UFOs, probably don't, if they see an article about UFOs, they're not probably going to read it because it's just not really in their world. That's not what they consider like real news or anything. But
right.
maybe open to it, or maybe have questions, have seen a video, but weren't sure if it was real or not. So we had a great screening, and you know who liked it the most are the people who don't, it's not for us. It's not for the ufologists. Like people like you and me and Mary and Stephen, you're going to watch this movie and you're going to go, I didn't learn anything new, because it's not for us. This is for people who, to me, what it felt like, it was sort of saying to the rest of the world, you may not have been paying attention to UFO news lately, but here's a season 1 recap of what happened at all the congressional trials and what people said and what that actually means, what they said. When they said they found biologics, or, ships going not 3,500 miles an hour, but going like 70,000 miles an hour, like 35,000 miles an hour, things like that. And they get into a lot of great details that even I've had some friends who have a mild interest in ufology and read some articles, but say, oh, this was mind blowing. So I think for a lot of people like us who are like skeptical, will remain skeptical even if you see it, because you're not going to learn anything new. But what it is I do think this movie will be a form of disclosure for a lot of people that have heard of the topic but never entertained it. And it's coming out, right before the holidays. Like, this is the movie, if you're into ufology and all your family makes fun of you, this is the movie you say at Thanksgiving after dinner or Christmas or whatever your holiday gathering is. When Grandpa says, should we watch a movie? You go, yeah, we should. We should watch this movie because I want to see what all of you think of it. Because those are the people I think who are going to be the most profoundly affected by this film. And then the other thing, they also introduce us to the legacy group. I don't know why that name keeps escaping me. They keep mentioning the legacy group, and I'm not prone to wild theories and stuff, but I started to go, did they script this, the legacy group, as this whole film basically? Because it's like the world is being told, this is the page you're supposed to be on when it comes to UFOs and aliens right now, world. So we need to get it out to those people. And I think they'll enjoy it. Everyone I know in that, and yes, it's a little long. Yes, Lou Elizondo walks around posing in a suit that's probably too small for him, too tight. Like, he should get a suit that's one size bigger. And he's posing in front of all the national monuments like he's going to save the world. Thank you, Lou. So, and my friends even said, like, it's a little too long and too much of the guy in front of the blackboard. And that was Lou. He's pointing at the blackboard. Here's what you should know by now. But yeah, it's fascinating. And I really look forward to hearing what other people think about it. But that's sort of, I would talk about other stuff. South Korea can grow you a tooth. You won't need dentures. Nobody cares. They just want to hear.
Well, right. So one of the things, if it's okay with you,
sure.
I think it would be a really good idea if we actually show the trailer for the show, for the movie. And then I would just like to share some comments. So
sure.
For those of you,
the American people are ready.
Excuse me. Sorry about that.
To receive the truth.
Humanity is not the only intelligence in the universe.
Humanity is not the only intelligent species.
We are absolutely not alone. Non-human intelligence exists.
UAPs are real, they're here, and they're not human. I spent 25 years as a senior official with the CIA.
I worked on highly classified UAP program.
28 years as an astrophysicist.
I served as the 4th Director of National Intelligence.
Director of Aviation Security in the National Security Council.
The 1-star admiral after 32 years of service.
People that come forward with this, I feel like they've taken their life in their own hands.
I was recruited to a highly sensitive government program that investigated unidentified aerial phenomenon.
For over 16 years, on behalf of the U.S. government, I worked as a senior intelligence official on the unidentified aerial phenomenon topic.
We learned that the U.S. government was involved in a long-running secret war with other nations to collect and reverse engineer vehicles not made by humans.
I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
There's a thing. It's rotating. There's a whole fleet of them.
The first country that cracks the code on this technology will be the leader for years to come.
China has established its own version of a UAP task force.
You think for a second that they wouldn't consider using it to achieve their ends of domination?
This is similar to the Manhattan Project. This is the atomic weapon on steroids.
This is so secret, very, very few people in our entire government have been allowed access to it.
Even presidents have been operating on a need-to-know basis, but that begins to ramp out of control.
It's not acceptable to have secret parts of government that no one ever sees.
You better be careful about a government that doesn't trust its people, because there's no telling what they'll pull on you.
This is the biggest discovery in human history.
You had information being locked away that could change the trajectory for a species.
It has so many beneficial impacts, including clean energy.
We should have disclosure today. We should have disclosure tomorrow. The time has come.
Yeah. Yeah. And they even Hal put off sort of at the end, even makes refers to humans as a melting pot of like other speed. I'm paraphrasing. I'll watch it, I'm sure, another time because I paid for it. And the movie's expensive, guys. If you're going to rent it, it's $20 to rent, $25 to buy. But what people are doing is doing buy parties, or watching parties where everyone kicks in $5 and everybody watches it at somebody's house. But I think the kicker is going to be, can you get it and share it with like friends and family outside? What was some of the other stuff? Did you see the whole thing yet, Richard?
So, it's funny that you mention it. I did see it. Do I still have some background noise there? Can you hear that background noise or not? Okay.
I don't have my volume up very high on these, so. Go ahead. So, what did you think about it since you say you saw it?
So just give me just a second here. I just want to make sure that I don't have any of that stuff going on. Just a second. Okay. All right. So, my thought, and I just wanted to make sure that I shared this because I thought one of the most significant things that I thought, as you do, for those of us who are in this particular field, it's not anything new, but it wasn't made, as you said, it wasn't made for us. It was made for everybody else. And really, even in all the stuff that I've seen in experiencers and contacts and the things that we believe that the phenomena is sharing with us, the people, most of all the people, this is really a story for them. A story of awakening, a story of realization, a story of reaching the stars, a story of our own. It really is defined by really what our show is, On the Precipice. We're on the cusp of reaching out and becoming who we are, and maybe
let's see. I hope so. I hope people 6 months from now we're not like, wow, we were, how so many times something comes out and we're like, oh, we're excited about this, it's going to make a difference, and then we're 6 months later going, oh wow, remember in 2017 was it when they released those UFO footage and so many of us thought, oh, now is the time, and then it just sort of fizzled away, right?
Well, and it's funny that you bring it, and I get that. And for us, it probably really doesn't matter because as people who've had experience and have been exposed to this and believe in what we feel and believe, we don't really worry about those things. It's the rest of the world who needs to wake up to fear, control, manipulation, who we are, and realize that, where we're going and where we need to go is out into the rest of the universe and be a member of that universe. And really, that's, to me, the most powerful thing about this story, because it does introduce, it does teach us, it does catch everybody up, and it does attempt, like all those other stories that you just mentioned, to wake people up.
Yeah,
So,
and it leans into the military stuff a little bit, but I'm guessing that's also because they want funding and they want people to approve measures to, make it. And not that, like I'm one of those people, I don't, and
Right.
maybe there will be a giant disclosure and maybe
Yeah.
the president will come out and say it. We've heard it for years and one day it'll happen. Who knows?
and
But,
because finally, before we move on, we all know who are part of what we believe in this phenomenon. We know what disclosure is. We know we believe who they are, and we've experienced who they are. So it's just about time for everybody else to realize who they are, and so that we can hopefully evolve and move on. So anyway, one of the things that we like to do too, that I like to talk about, is I like to every so often bring astronomical stuff. And this, to me, was something I saw recently. It's a black hole. And then it's an eruption of a black hole into a star, and this was actually given as one of the slides, and so I sort of want to, if I can, let me see if I can do it.
and that's somebody's artwork, it looks like, right? Because it gave a credit.
It looks like it's part of art, but and there's a particular reason too. While I bring it up, and I just want to bring just. Hopefully, Steve and Mary can see it too, because we'll come back to it later.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway. Very cool, good article. The Sun, as you can see, did it. And I suggest that for those of you who are a part of it, to read the article. Great pictures, love astronomy, love what the James Webb Telescope is telling us, and just, some of the other things that are going on there, which is cool for us. So, again, what we like to do at this particular time, and I'm just going to mention it, so hopefully Mary and Steve won't get mad at me about the picture that we choose to introduce them. Our guest this episode, you want to introduce them, CJ?
Sure. Hold on. Let me scroll down to where I was. Okay, there we go. So Stephen, you know what, Mary Cacciapaglia. I always want to, you're going to yell at me. I'm going to saying it wrong. Steve, Neill, and Mary Cacciapaglia. Steve and Mary are married. They're experiencers. They also have an amazing YouTube channel and like a community that they've created called Breaking the Silence. And we're going to be sure to put links in the description below as well, so you'll be able to find them and on the screen as well throughout the episode. But
so
Steve
why don't we bring them on? Yeah.
Bring them in, throw them into the room, Bill. And then Steve's got a background doing effects and film and television, and you can just go Google him. He's on IMDb. I'll just say like Fright Night, Star Trek. Just go Google them. They're like fully legit, awesome credits, and you can check out the rest for yourself. He's done lots of work. He's also an author. He's got a book. He and his partner Mary is like his co-producer, his partner in all things. And Mary does amazing art. Steve does amazing art. They help a lot of experiencers who seem to have gathered around their YouTube channel, kind of creating a community that interacts on like their Facebook page, and they write articles on Medium, in the chat box on Medium and stuff like that. They're also members of Yvonne Smith's Zero Support Group, and I'm sure they're flood survivors. Their house flooded, and they're still here with us. But yeah, here they are. Welcome,
and you know
guys.
what? Some of the things that I just want to make sure that people see, because we really we're going to dive into their background, where they grew up, where they're from. But a couple other things that we also mentioned, I just think it's really cool. This is some of Steve's obviously work. And Steve, I stole this from your page and some of the other stuff. So this is all about you. And I couldn't get, to be honest with you, we'd have to have a 6 or 7 or 10-day show about covering everything that you and Mary have been a part of. So I only touched on some of those. So please forgive me for not getting them all. But I just thought some of these, of course, we're all Star Trek fans. Even our producer's a Star Trek fan. And I know there was a whole video and series that you did on creating years and stuff like that you and Mary were involved in, or producer. And then, here's some of the other older, later stuff. And again, by the way, guys, we're going to give you their webpage and their Subtrack page and all the information about that. And they can tell us about how you can find this stuff. But there's so many amazing things that they were involved in. One of the things that I think Steve does probably that impresses me more than anything, because it has, when we introduce, is this modeling and the incredible work that he's done, and not only for the TV and movies, but for private folks. And we're going to talk about that because I want to know about it. But one of the things that I recently saw is Steve's garage. And of course, the work that he's done and the modeling and the radio control airplanes and the things that he's built. And it just sounds like a passion. And so I want to get into all that because we want to talk about your background and your work. The other thing is Mary has done a number of things. And so I want to spend just a second here because I think that it's very involved. One of the things I liked, there were so many things and pictures and stuff, but, she's a painter, this thing about sculpting and being a part of Breaking the Sounds, but the poetry. So I'm just going to ask it because I'm going to call you out just for a second. There was a number of them, and I picked these two only because I thought that they were really incredible. Can you tell us what they mean? Both of them, the journey and the crown, and express what it says because that's pretty profound. Go ahead, Mary.
Those are haikus.
Explain to them what
a haiku is. A very structured type of poem where you only use so many syllables,
right,
to bring forth. It's very abstract,
right.
And so, crone.
Thrive, life has no due date. That's a pretty significant impact statement about our journey.
Exactly. Those are both reflections on my viewpoint of life.
Right. It is incredible stuff. And I just wanted to make sure that we mentioned those things.
No one ever does.
Too, what's that?
No one ever does.
I
told you he's a cop. He's gonna investigate you before he talks to you.
And then the thing is too, this is the time if we can, and I'm gonna let CJ start off if it's okay, CJ, because we want to go to Steve and we want to go to Mary. This is the time for background, your passions, your work, that stuff that we just showed you. We want you to share that. And then as we get towards the break, we'll kind of let you know we're going. And then next hour, we're going to talk about Steve's experience and how Mary is involved in that in his life, and then show a couple of things that Steve's created that I think are pretty powerful about what we all are about here on this channel and on The Precipice. So,
CJ, great. I mean, guys, thank you. Thank you so much for coming and being here with me. You guys are always super supportive of everything we do, so I really appreciate it. Mary?
Cacciapaglia.
Cacciapaglia. You know what I meant? We were all talking before the recording, and I had it written in huge bold letters, like ask her to say her name. Because even if I know how to say your name, I'm going to look at it and I'm on camera and not be able to say it.
Even in my signature, I put how to do it underneath my name.
Yeah, I suck. I'm so sorry. I suck. It's okay.
No problem.
Richard used to say my name wrong, so it's just a tradition. It's just our tradition. It's how we show love here.
Did you say your last name, Richard?
Banaszak.
Thank you.
And I think Steve is the only one who's got the most normal name. All of us are kind of oddballs, and so Mary. Sometimes Steve sometimes goes first. Why don't you go first about?
Okay.
Tell us about Mary. Tell us about who she is, where she's from, and a little bit about your work, and then your relationship, if you don't mind, and interaction with Steve.
How do you interact?
Very carefully. Very intensely at times, especially when it comes to our business.
Right.
So you're business partners?
Yes, we're business partners. We're both artists. We've worked on many things together. When I'm not doing that right now, my art is very eclectic. Right now, I am working mainly on getting my watercolor pictures out there. So I'm just going to reach over and grab some.
Absolutely.
Good. Please do.
Every year to family and friends, I send out watercolor.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Beautiful.
Postcards.
Oh, those are gorgeous.
So
you did them all.
Yeah, they're all by hand. And of course, I've done big ones. So that's the right side of my brain. And I've sculpted all kinds of things. I've made things with Steve. When Steve and I first met, he was doing Steve Neill's garage, and he was putting models together for clients. And I learned how to melt plastic together and take parts off what they called trees, because those are the parts of a model. They're put on these like pieces of plastic, and you break them off. And that piece of the plastic you broke it off of is called a tree. So I learned how to break pieces off trees and melt plastic together. You don't glue it, you melt it together.
Right.
Like a welding situation.
Yeah. And so I remember the first time he asked me to paint something at the studio. And we had a mechanic next door, and he wanted a license plate painted. And I think it was for a Ford. And I had to get everything just right with their emblem and everything. And I said, I don't do that for other people. And he says, yeah, you do. Here, take it upstairs and paint it.
Get it done.
And so I just been working as an artist by the seat of my pants. When we make a movie, I'm the one that herds the cats, gets all the actors together, make sure the food is brought in and the craft. And I work around the other artist and making sure everything gets done when it comes to movie making. And then I'm behind the camera sometimes too. I've made videos with my art that's on my personal YouTube channel is Art by Cacciapaglia. So I just dabble in everything, and that's why I was so surprised when I saw my poetry up there, because that's just a little thing I do on the side. And so, do you want to ask me some questions about all of that?
Well, one of the things that and maybe Steve can also mention is, so it's ironic how people are sort of attracted to each other, especially with energy. And some of the little background that I did, and that's why I asked, because I'm asked about where you came from. Both your parents and Steve, to a certain extent, I think your parents and your grandparents, they were all artists to a certain extent, whether they were music.
My mom was.
Yeah, whether it was music, whether it was building, whether it was creating. And so you guys have naturally, it seemed, to gravitate in the course of your life at the journey where you all met and came together. So I thought that was pretty good. So
yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Even my mother's family, they were all musicians.
Right.
So it's, they're visual artists, musicians. I don't know if it's in the DNA or why, but everybody was and have those talents. And some of the stories that Steve has told me about his grandmother, I'll let him tell you, but just phenomenal,
Right.
The 6 degrees of separation and the people that we have known in our lives.
Right.
That I don't think you would have met those people if you didn't have an artist background.
And you probably wouldn't understand each other the way unless you, it's another level of interaction and understanding from an artistic and a creative standpoint that, you can gel, because people who are very creative, they see things in their minds first and how they can even create it. And it's amazing how they're able to manifest it into the work that they do. And then the partner or whoever they interact understands and able to add their own strokes or their own aspects to it to even create something even more better. So just so that we know some back, you're not from California originally, right? Or are you?
Well, I kind of am. I was born in Salem, Mass, but I came to California as a very young child. So, and then we went back to the East Coast a little bit during high school, but then we came right back here. So I was brought up in Manhattan Beach, California for most of my childhood. So yeah, I'm a Californian. And the other thing that I do that you probably didn't look up, which is kind of cool because I got you on this one, is I'm also a healer. I do Reiki and Reiki healing.
Oh wow!
And I'm in a women's group that does healing. So I also do that.
Yeah, actually, I did see the group that you're talking about, and I do know that. Again, that's the spiritual aspect of an esoteric or whatever, and we all know that that's a component of this whole phenomenon aspect. But I should have brought that out, and I will have to work on that, Mary. And I did see that. So.
I was hoping
you can't get it all. He got he got your haiku, Mary. Give it to him.
Yeah. And not only that, I don't know if you saw it on the thing. Is that the background was actually that painting that you had on your poetry site.
Yeah, I did notice that.
That was really cool. So
thank you.
All right. So Steve,
yeah,
who are you, Steve?
Who am I?
Where do you come from?
What's the background? Born in San Francisco in Mount Zion Hospital in 1952, and I don't know where I lived initially in San Francisco, but my first consciousness of living in a place was on 47th Avenue, which at that time we had Playland, and the Cliff House was very busy, and I could hear the seals at night and the foghorns, and I mean I grew up in that environment, and I never really liked it. I never liked living in San Francisco. I didn't like the city. So my real joy was to go and spend time with either one of my grandmothers who lived way out in the country. That was a place that I wanted to be. So that's where life started for me.
And so you went to school up there, I'm assuming, and then eventually got down this way.
Pacifica. Well, after my mom and dad split up, then we moved. My mom bought a house in Pacifica, California, which is on the peninsula, which is only about 20 minutes away from San Francisco. But I liked it a lot better because it was on a hillside. It was more like Marin County, and which is where I love to be the most.
Yeah.
So we moved there, and I went to high school there at Oceana High School. And I was there until approximately 1973. When I came to Hollywood for my career in Hollywood, which actually happened. I mean, so many people try to do that, and my whole family laughed at me. And one of them even said, "Well, don't you have to have talent to get a job down there?" So, yeah.
That sounds like a sibling. Who said that? Grandpa or a sibling?
So family meeting where that happened. So,
I'm curious of some of the stuff that I saw. So I know your work, and as much as I understand in visual effects and modeling. So if I'm not mistaken, weren't you, or didn't you, or maybe that's what I'm asking, wanting to be an actor and that involved? Did you ever Debbie in that at the beginning, or not, or want to?
No, not really. No, I wanted to be a filmmaker, and that was my primary interest. But there's, when you come to Hollywood, the first thing they tell you is get a regular job, because you're not going to make any money. And if you want to pursue filmmaking, or if you any aspect of it whatsoever, you need to get a real job, which something is I was never happy in doing. I felt like it was self-defeating to my very existence, and I just couldn't do it. So I always found ways to survive off my artistic skills. Filmmaking, unfortunately, wasn't going to be one of them. So I was very interested in prosthetic makeup. And what really got me interested in it the most was the movie Planet of the Apes, and also 2001: A Space Odyssey. I wanted to know how that was done. And I found out. I ferreted it out in various ways, because there was no internet back then. I became skilled enough at it that I was coming to Hollywood in the early 70s, and people became aware of my skills. And there weren't a lot of people doing prosthetic special makeup effects. So that became my regular job. I came to LA, and I got hired by Fox Studios for a while to work on the Planet of the Apes TV series. I met some of the key makeup artists in towns and became friends with them. They started referring me to work, and the next day I knew I had a full-time career working on all kinds of movies, and even got to do Mr. Spock's ears, one of the things I did for Star Trek. So that was my real job, while I plotted and wrote scripts and tried to get films made. And it was like pulling teeth. I only ever got one made. It was called The Day Time Ended, and you can watch it. It's on YouTube. make sure you watch the remastered high definition one, widescreen. It's an amazing film, really, considering what we went through to get it made. But it had Dorothy Malone in it and Jim Davis and
oh wow,
Robert Mitchum's son, and it was a big deal, and you can see me in the film all the way through because I wrote the original story.
Right.
And
What's
it does
called
have
again? Say the title again for.
It's a horrible title. It was not what I titled it. It's called The Day Time Ended.
Okay. The Day
Sounds like a
Time
real
Ended.
B picture. Originally it was called Vortex because this architect retires and he builds this beautiful house out in the desert, which he loves. And it turns out it's on a vortex and literally weird things start happening there. Now, this is before Poltergeist. And you get to see aliens and spacecraft and UFOs. It's all through it. And it's a real fun little joyride. And it was all done with practical effects because we didn't have CGI back then. And I worked with some of the people that went on to get careers and do the visual effects for Star Wars who worked on that same film. So,
awesome.
And then that was it. I tried to get another film made after that and I just didn't. And so I just kept doing makeup effects and it paid well. It kept me in the movie business. And
well, I think you were like me, because one of the things I loved when I was a kid, besides Star Trek, so Lon Chaney and Lon Chaney Jr., and just the work that they did. And I used to love the Werewolf and, Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff with Frankenstein, and had the models and, you had the mask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that sort of stimulated and encouraged, I guess, maybe you and the work that you did. And
sure.
Absolutely. And probably that you still continue to do.
And I got to meet and be friends with and even work for all my heroes, from Dick Smith to John Chambers, who created the makeup for Planet of the Apes. So I was very fortunate.
Right.
I was in the right place at the right time. It was luck.
So cool.
So just, and I think people would be interested, as we migrated over there, you created these other ways of expressing yourself. So Steve
Neill's Garage.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Steve Neill's Garage. Tell us about that and the remote control and the modeling and the cars. Where did all again? Tell us where that came from.
Well, my dad, he was an engineer and an incredibly good artist, both, and he worked on Mare Island on nuclear submarines, and we both had a passion for racing and cars. He did. We loved building models. We loved slot cars, which I still do. I still have a big track in my back room. Slot cars are a lot more sophisticated today, but they're basically the same thing. The cars look like the real thing, which appeals to me because I like fine modeling. I like things to look real as much as possible. So I've always, and I built models for the movies as well. I mean, as well as creature suits and acted as creatures in a lot of movies. A lot of you watching this probably have seen Didn't He Know It Was Me? So Steve Neill's Garage came about in about 2008 or 9. I can't remember when I started it, but it really started with my desire to have a very large scale model of the USS Enterprise from the original series. And I wanted to be accurate, and I couldn't build a 12-foot model, so it was just too big. That's how big the original was. So I built a 6-foot model, which they also built for Star Trek during Deep Space Nine. And so I built one that size. I did it all from scratch, and I worked with reference from Doug Drexler and Michael Okuda, who are very well known for their work in Star Trek series, all of them except the original series. And we worked off the original blueprints, and I recreated that model. And I did a 47 episode series where I just had this little handheld unit. This is before we even had phones really that would shoot video. And I just did it all on the fly. And I just showed, everything from taking my dog to go get money out of the ATM, to go to the place where I bought the resin and the fiberglass and the silicone to make it. And so I documented the whole thing, and it had zillions of views. It was amazing. I didn't plan that, but people were fascinated by it. And that's what really started Steve Neill's Garage. So after that model was built, I did the captain's chair. That was accurate. We covered that. And then I started building models. People who loved Star Trek and knew I worked on it and all these other movies were collectors, big time collectors, and they wanted a model built by me. So they came to me during that period of time up till about 2012, 2013. And I was making some really good money building these models for people all over the world, not just in the United States. And that was really something. So all that was documented. And if I was building radio controlled airplanes, I did that because I love aviation. I'm very knowledgeable on the subject and the history, which makes me a good observer when it comes to UFOs. Because people are always telling me, including my late wife, oh, you just saw an airplane. You know, it's like, you can't tell me of all people that, because you'd be really wrong. So, yeah, so that's how that all came about.
I've gone to Steve for his opinion on a case for trying to identify a craft. Like, he knows his stuff, so I love running something by him.
Did you get a chance to fly that? And I have to apologize. The most recent episode, you were you got again. I don't know what kind of plane it was. Looked like a glider.
Yeah, the Fox glider. Yeah, it's an aerobatic glider. Yeah, I did. I flew it yesterday, and the new show, Steve Neill's Garage, is going to be uploaded after the show. I didn't want to upload while we were recording the show because it would have affected the bandwidth. But yeah, it flew very well.
Where do you fly at, if you don't mind me asking?
The Sepulveda Basin.
Oh, I see.
Ed Woodley there, you know, at the Apollo Field. I'm a member of the Valley Flyers. I have been for years.
So it's a club over there?
Yeah, with a 600-foot runway, paved taxiways. It's been there for years. In fact, it's been there since the 30s when they did free flight. And they've tried to close this down many, many times over the years, but I'm here to say they were very unsuccessful. People love aviation.
What was the name again of the club?
The San Fernando Valley Flyers.
San Fernando Valley Flyers, and I know it's a big thing. And now tell us about there's a car there, one of the old race cars that you were, and again I have to apologize that you were doing some work about, and I think it had to do with the painting. So there was one there. How's that? Or
that was Jim Clark's Lotus 25, and he won so many races in the 60s. That was my favorite era for Grand Prix racing. I absolutely have no interest in it today. I absolutely, it bores me to tears. But back then, those cars were just so elegant, so beautifully conceived, and they really took skill to drive. And that era was just amazing. That's the era of the movie Grand Prix with James Garner in it. And
Steve McQueen.
Lotus 25 was probably one of the most famous F1 cars there has ever been, in my opinion. So my dad loved that car. I love that car. I love the Lotus period. And I just had to build one. And so they stopped making the kit 25, 30 years ago, but I found one and that somebody had it sent over from Japan. And it's just coming out beautiful.
Yeah. So, you know, one of the things that I want to ask both you and Mary too. So you both have, and I know we're going to talk about Breaking the Silence because that's coming up, but you both have Breaking the Silence and a number of other Substack things that you're involved in. So can you just tell us what those are? And then maybe I have the addresses at the end and how people maybe can get to be a part of that, a member of that. I know that's a lot of what you do for your thing. So tell us a little bit about that work. So Mary first.
Okay. Well, Breaking the Silence Project is our website, and you can actually go to anything that we do off of that, whether it's one of our Substacks or we have a weekly newsletter that we put out that says our show that's coming up on Friday and what the show was last Friday in the comments. Anytime we have little potlucks at our home on occasion, and we invite experiencers to come and have a one-on-one with us. We have Zoom meetings, both both of us write on Substack. And so other than the YouTube creator channel and the website, we do so much I can't remember it all. Steve, help me out.
Here's a number.
Well, there's my website as well, which is The Artist Steve Neill. All you have to do is Google it, and that catalogs everything I've done in my entire life in my career. It's all there.
Right. And that was one of the things actually that I looked at and found, and both of those it's funny, are, very involved, and there's a bunch of information, and actually that's one of the ways too, not through that, but when I found Mary, Your Healing, then the group that you were a part of with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so you guys are involved in just so many aspects of the world. And so how do you think, I'm sorry, so tell people how they can access that and then maybe become a member of it, if you don't mind.
Okay, which thing?
So you tell us. How do we get to you? I mean,
the best way to get to us is through our website. And you can also email us anytime at breakingthesilence@gmail.
And I think Bill has it. Our producer has that information that he can put up for us so that everybody can have it. And then through there, they can either become a member or a free access.
You can go to our Substack, Breaking the Silence, and join for free to get the newsletter. You can go to our website, leave a comment there, and leave your email if you want to ask us a question there. We're also on Reddit in the group Our Experiencers, and we also have a Breaking the Silence Reddit group as well as a subreddit. So there is so many different ways to get in touch with you, and we respond always to any question.
We certainly try to.
Or statement.
We're very good about answering people's comments and emails. We feel that's so incredibly important. And so many of the YouTube creators and other people involved in this don't do that. And it's really, and they will always give me the excuses. I just don't have time for that. You know how busy I am? Well, I'm sorry. It's just not an excuse. You can find the time for it. You can. And a lot of these people, all they want to do is be acknowledged. Oh, yeah. You saw my email. Oh, and they're so grateful, and it makes them so happy. And to me, that's
and I'd like to add to that. The whole reason that we started Breaking the Silence was to give experiencers a platform where either anonymously or in front of a camera, they can tell their story, because they feel very isolated. They feel like there's nobody in their community that understands them. They can't talk to their parents. Sometimes they get divorces over this. And we're there to give a platform to make experiencers feel less isolated. So that's why we originally started this, because nobody wants to feel alone.
I have to point something out to her too, is that this whole thing was her idea.
Wow, Mary.
At the very moment that she came up with this idea, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do with the plane in the back to make it fly better. And she comes up with this idea of,
it's all your talents. It's movie creation. It's the experiencer. Everything that we've seen, we've made movies. I mean, it was time, and we're about being authentic. We don't care, about AdSense or any of that. What's important to us are the experiencers, and that nobody feels isolated.
Oh, there's your webpage. Is that the webpage that we're talking about that they can access you guys on?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if they want to go look at what I've done in the past, related and unrelated to this, it's steveneils.art.blog. And I've had that website since like 2004, and I keep adding to it, and it's just a monster at this point.
And I think that's where I got most of your stuff, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you can see a picture of me sitting with my giant Enterprise behind me and some of the masks I've made, of which one is a Travis Walton alien. And yeah, it's I think people would have a lot of fun there. But if you want to know more about all the things I've done and I'm still doing, that's the place to go for that.
Yeah, and you know, we were talking backstage before we came in, and it's led to the door that you guys opened. But I think one of the biggest things that is needed, and CJ even mentioned this with the work at Southern California MUFON, the support, providing a place for support for people who've had contact, who've had experience, who have had whatever about this phenomenon that we're involved in, and that we are the phenomenon. And I've said that many times only because that's my particular belief. And talking to people who have gone through that and have dealt with it can help others in the weird and unusual and sometimes chaotic and sometimes crazy experiences. And they need that for them. They need people. They need a place to go and vent and talk to people who don't think whatever, but that will just listen, as you say, and then respond. You know, Steve, you were saying that too about responding. So I think to me, that was probably one of the critical points that you guys are involved in and that you provide, is just that support forum and venue for them. So
yes,
that's way cool.
You know, we really care about them. And because as someone who has this experience, you know, I can relate very well, and that really helps.
And then, you know, the good thing about it is we're coming up to the break here pretty soon. We're going to spend some time at the second half of the show, and we're going to talk about you and what you've produced and what you've experienced to sort of underscore for those people who are involved with this work who have experienced their own things, just to give them an identity that they're not crazy, they're not by themselves, and there's others here who are also involved in that. And then maybe, you know, Whitley had his book, Them. I'll often bring it up about how he's trying to also to understand his place and what they're trying, and then who we are and then who we all are in relationship to that. So I'm really excited about what that is. So
I think one of the most terrifying aspects of this whole thing is and I can imagine this quite easily, is that you're a person who has not been looking at the stars and not been interested in Star Trek or any of those things. You're just going through your life and this stuff happens to you and you're totally unprepared for it. And your biggest fear of all is not that you saw non-human intelligence beings in your house or in your backyard. It's that you're losing your mind. And that's the first thing people think. And they're so worried about it. They want to talk to somebody who can tell them, no, you're not losing your mind. What you're experiencing is real. And that's
true.
Yeah.
What Bill Skywatcher said in the comments, like, so true. You start questioning everything. Like, did that really happen? Did I make that up? Like, I remember thinking, I've never had a false memory before. It was like, false memory, even a real term? Like, what, you know, like your mind tries to make logic out of what is completely illogical, and it just goes to its natural default of like, that was in your head.
Yeah, that's it.
You know what I mean? Because you got trash to take out, dishes to wash, laundry to do. You know what I mean? Like, what?
I love doing all that stuff. It makes me feel good.
Yeah, they should come down and pitch in once in a while, huh?
Yeah, right.
They did the other day when they found my solder for me. But that's another story.
Right.
And they can leave my socks alone.
Well, you know, the physical world or the science world, which again, we're trying to balance it all, sometimes goes, like all of us, to one extreme or the other. So if we can't touch it, feel it, and whatever, then, or we can't explain it, then we don't even need to deal with it sometimes, because we're locked sometimes in boxes. And, you know, in reality, you know, this whole idea about squaring the circle and that whole thought about really there is no boundaries and just helping people to understand. But the good thing about it is in the second half of our show, we're going to go into that with you, Steve, and some of the things that you have. And then hopefully, you'll share some more insights and tell us some more about the story. And then maybe that will also inspire others to not only reach out to MUFON and all that, but to get to somebody that maybe will listen and
reach out to you if they don't want to talk to MUFON.
They're all of us.
We're always telling them to go out to MUFON.
Yeah, and I send people to you as well because you guys offer something different than we offer, right?
There was that hesitation by people because MUFON in the past had been very nuts and bolts, and we know about Debbie Cobble's story and how they wouldn't consider her cakes because she saw little people or little children in her backyard. That was the end of it. But that has changed, and I'm here to tell you, if you're watching this, that has very much changed with MUFON, and they are very, very. They take what you have to say very seriously. So do not be afraid to reach out.
Right now is a good time.
So
there's more experiencers involved in MUFON today than ever before in the history of MUFON too. So you're not alone.
So before we go to break, only because it's my own, I just wanted to share these 3 episodes. There's a billion of them that break. Not they don't have a billion.
No, 250.
Breaking the Silence have done a lot of them. So these are some of the 3 that I've actually watched, and Susan Hansen's book, and the dual soul and her experiences that she does over in New Zealand, and that was a great episode. And then you talked about Deborah Cobble. I apologize. And of course, not Whitney, but Bud Hopkins' book, The Intruders.
Very famous case.
And she's written another revised version. That was a great episode. And then, of course, Susan Allowell's encounter with the Jackrabbit case that you guys did a great job. And again, 3 experiences, and then we're going to talk about yours. And like we had talked backstage, I mean, the Jackrabbit case got 101,000 views, and if I'm not mistaken, the Intruder one involving Deborah was at 103,000 or whatever it is.
It's close to 100,000 now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's some serious viewership, and we're really happy.
You bet.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's getting out there. It's reaching people. It's reaching
like a new generation too. It's almost like music. You know how there's a lot of young people finding these bands that were popular 20 years ago. There's also a lot of young people learning about this and learning about experiencers that a lot of us learned about 20. Her story was there was a TV movie of the week, I think. That it was a big deal back then, but now there's a new generation learning about these. What would you call them? Historic, groundbreaking, experiencers who were the first people to come out. You can find some of their footage on like Oprah and talk shows in the 80s and 90s, and it was like a brutal.
And I'm on some of those. I'm on some of those too.
Right. And,
I was on with Jacques Vallée, and and people have been digging that stuff up. They even found one the other day. Mary, remember they sent me that one that I'd done a show. With Patrick McNee, The Unexplained or something like that. And there was this whole interview with me in my old studio up in Granada Hills back in the 90s. It just blew my mind because I forgot about it.
All right. We got to take our break. We got to go back to that. Sorry. We're getting the go now.
So we're going to go right into a break, and then we're going to talk about your experiences.
You guys are flying. My favorite.
Right back.
We're back.
To your seats, Cosmic Explorers. KGRA Digital Broadcasting, the unrivaled #1 source for raw, uncensored paranormal and UFO talk radio, has just unleashed a sizzling online merch store. Stay cosmic on the move with accessories, rugged phone cases, vibrant yoga mats, and notebooks perfect for jotting down UFO sightings. Ignite your obsession with the unexplained through bold, exclusive gear that demands attention. Kicking off with the Supernova, the store launches 2 heart-pounding collections, KGRA Digital Broadcasting and Bishop James Law. Every item you grab helps power the network and its groundbreaking shows. Stand with the truth seekers, act fast, score your stellar swag, and join the uprising today.
MUFON is the voice of thousands of like-minded people who want to see change. We speak up against UFO secrecy. We engage governments and agencies around the world on the topic. We share information with the public through our journal, website, newsletter, social media, and even our own TV channel. When you join MUFON, you add your voice to the cause. Few things are more important in our time than understanding the UFO question. Join MUFON. Find your friends.
It's back. So I guess you need to sit down again.
That's all right. Take your time, Steve. You can
Let
come
us-
back when you're ready to come back.
That's
Steve.
right.
We have
You-
like a
we'll wait.
full
We're good.
hour.
But you know, some that Steve said as we were leaving, but we have been going at a good pace. I mean,
That
it goes-
felt brief, by the way. That did
Yeah.
feel kind of brief. I don't know if Bill Skywatcher shortened our break. Is a
Yeah,
surprise.
but we're flying. We are flying, you know. So you know, it's time. I think at this particular point, because it's a good segue into Steve, your experiences, and you know, one of the things when both CJ and I were had the pleasure of both being on your show before and your conversation part of the show, and I really enjoyed it too. But you wrote a pilot about your life, and there was I believe 3 segments, if I'm not mistaken, and I during this research, the work was really incredible, and the work that you did to recreate what you experienced. I really think it's a good way to start our segment by just, if you don't mind, I'd like to run one of the segments that you have, and it really is from
sure.
You know, it really is, and I just want to make sure I got this. You know, but something is out there. So,
But something is there.
I'm sorry. Something is there.
Something is there, and that title came about as a result of my long relationship with Whitley Strieber, and we were at a place where he was giving a lecture to some people. He asked us to attend it, and I made faces at him from the audience, and we had a great time. And then at one point he said, "You know, we really don't know," and he says this to this day, what we're dealing with, but something is there. And we were looking for a title, Mary and I were looking for a title for the film. Nothing we came up with we liked, and we just both turned and looked at each other and said, "That's it." So, and now Whitley says, "I remember that."
One of the things I was going to encourage everybody, so just before we get going, so did you write the book before or after? Because this is your book that you wrote.
Yeah.
About your story, and you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon UK, which has a number of them. And it's for those of us, and I know CJ, I had this set, and we were talking about books, but this is an important book to help those who want to actually read more about your story. And I think it would be something that was good involved. But if you're okay, we're gonna go ahead and I want to run a segment from that particular series that you did, if it's okay with you. And I think I got it right. I'm pretty sure I got it right. Let's see where we're at. And so let's see how this goes.
All right, let's see.
All right, here we go. Everybody see it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
is it full screen or is it
no,
full
it's not
screen?
full screen. No.
So let's see what I can do about full screen.
I remember very well
2 arrows.
when this all started. I was only 7 years old, sleeping in my cozy bed in our San Francisco flat. My bedroom was part of an old San Francisco house turned into 2 flats years ago. We lived in the lower level flat. It was a cozy old building that was once a Victorian house, now modernized. As I sleep soundly, I had no idea what was about to happen to me. The most important experience of my life, and that it has been. Something totally unknown and strange was about to make itself known to me and forever change how I view reality.
Have you ever wondered?
Of course it would do that, right?
Commercial.
Yeah, and I have
Hilarious.
to sorry about that, guys.
Very
We have to pay the
controversial
bills. We have to pay
commercial
the
there.
bills.
Yeah.
My life at this point had been average for a boy growing up in the 50s. My parents both worked and I went to school. I was an only child with no brothers or sisters. I had a large bedroom to myself that looked towards playland and the ocean. My interests were different than most kids my age. I had my eyes on the stars. I loved astronomy, art, science, and music. I still joke today that my first football was a telescope. I always wondered when I looked up at the night sky what was out there. This night, I would find out. The next thing I knew, it was morning. I felt panicked, remembering what had happened, but beyond the point of that creature's face, I couldn't remember anything else. Not even how I got on the rug. Could remember that I was so scared that night that sometimes I would sneak in to sleep on the bed with my parents. I was afraid of the lightning people. At least that's what I remember my mother telling me. That's what I called them. She told me I was just having nightmares, that big boys didn't sleep with their parents. So when I was so scared, I would sneak in and sleep on the rug. I know today what was happening to me then, but when I was so young, this was all new. It was hard to know what was real. Who were these beings? My heart told me it was real.
Wow. The breathing. I know.
Yeah,
I remembered.
That's how the film starts. Yeah, and I had people saying, "There's something wrong with your sound there. There's no sound." And it's like, the film was shot very professionally. I've called on a lot of favors from friends. One of them is a DP from Hollywood who helped get into the business when we were both very young, and he gave him his time. His name was Paul, and it was meant to be seen on a large screen, like any film in a movie theater. And so, but people were watching it on their phones and their pads and stuff. And so, they didn't understand But despite that, the film did pretty well. We spent all of our own money and some other people's money as well to make it, but we never released it to make money. We released it for the same reason we did Breaking the Silence, to help people. I knew that if I went to Hollywood and my connections and said, look, I've got this script and it's about my experiences, and they would have turned it into something like Fire in the Sky. They would have made it sensational and frightening and scary and full of booze, and it wouldn't have been accurate, and they just won't let you do that. So we decided to do it ourselves. We had the wherewithal, we had the studio, we had the equipment, we had all my friends that I've worked with over the years in the business, and we made that film, and we made it just to release it so that people could see it. And it's amazing the emails that we got as a result over the years, because the very thing you were talking about earlier is that this helped a lot of people feel like they weren't alone and they weren't crazy.
You know, it's funny, and the reason that I wanted to show the last part of it, you know, about you sleeping on the floor in your parents' room. So I just finished a case, and one of the things that she told me, besides of, she was in her bed and she saw these silhouettes and they were shadows and they're bulbous in her head, and then, you know, the time went out and missing time. But she said when she remembers, so now she was 20 when she was telling me years old when this happened. She's 50 now. But she said, you know what? Since we're talking, and this is how we got to that, because she didn't reveal this initially. She said, you know what? I remember going to see my grandparents back in Ohio. And when I was in, she called it, was I in middle school, junior school? She didn't remember, 11, 12 years old. And she stayed in a bedroom, pretty much like your grandfather's, I guess, house when you were living there, and some of the stories that I heard.
I was in Marin County, yeah.
Right. So she was in her grandparents' house. She was in the bedroom downstairs. The door was always open. And that's where she first saw them come and interact with her. But the thing that I'm saying, she run up to her grandparents' bedroom and get in bed the very first time she got in bed with them. And they were saying, what the heck's going on? Well, she was scared. She was totally frightened about what she experienced. And they calmed her down, but it happened so many times that her grandfather put out a cot. And if she got really scared, she could run out of the room, come up and sleep on the cot to have the comfort. And when I saw your film, I thought, I just talked to an experiencer who, after she's 56 now, she never told anybody, you know, and she said, not only that, my cousin, who was 10 years younger than me, he was at the same house as our grandparents 10 years later, and he did the same thing, and her grandfather put out the cot. I just thought it was a very important thing. So, Steve, tell us, was that the first time that you remember or experience, or what did that represent? Because it was at the beginning.
Yeah, it is. It kind of is. I mean, in hindsight, over the years, I do have this dim memory, and I did a piece of artwork of it that's been used quite a lot by Yvonne Smith and other people, of a gray looking into the bars of a crib and his baby laying there. And it's been a running theme with me because I have a very not so dim anymore memory of it. But at that age, I wasn't thinking about that. I don't know that I was really aware that had happened yet, but that was the first night on record that I can remember where something like that happened. And when I watch it still, it makes me feel, I still feel the emotions from it. As many times as I worked on the edit, shot it, did all that, it still affects me when I see it because it's so clear in my mind, because I have a photographic memory. And I remember waking up because it was so silent. And it was so silent, I questioned whether I could breathe. It was almost like it was in a vacuum chamber. And I just felt this presence, just this awareness. And then out of the corner of my eye, I saw these lights looking through the windows, and they were shining all around the room. And it made me very curious because I wanted to know what it was. I wasn't really afraid at that moment. But once I looked out the window, and I did exactly hide that way. I creeped along the side of the wall and got up under the sill and peeked over the edge. And the minute I did, the lights responded to my presence, like, "Oh, there you are," and then I ran and hid under my desk.
You know, one of the things that you were talking about then, again, reminded me of another case that I had done, and I actually did it on your show, and you did a recreation. It was this lady who woke up, her husband was in bed, and a light had shined in. That's what woke her up, and it sort of seemed to be alive, and it was a bunch of like colors, and it would move with purpose and intelligence and meaning. And when I looked at the videos and in your book, you actually represented it, that it was like an intelligence. It was like a movement. Even the light, we often hear that in many experiences, that the light seems to be alive. It bends, or it moves, or it molds, or it takes us into a place and it changes it. So I thought that was a pretty astonishing thing that it said. And I think a lot of people are going to identify with that,
A lot of people did, especially with that opening scene.
So it was funny. There's two other scenes that I thought, and I do want to show them in just a second. You did that, and you did the child's. I think it's the child's secret. Was that the second one that?
My mother's secret.
Yeah. So, and the reason why this one is important, and if you're all okay, I would like to show another segment, and then I want to talk about that, because one of the things that we see oftentimes is people remembering. Susan remembered in terms of the Jackrabbit, Susan Holloway, and her time eventually, and a lot of it was promulgated by going to a therapist. Yours were being Yvonne Smith, who helped you through your things. But in this segment that it's involved, I guess it's called A Child's Encounter. I want to bring that up because
I did a few.
I thought this was a good one, because it talked about as you grew and became more involved with it, how it affected your life. So
this is not from But Something Is There. This was done more recently.
And I thought that this was a really cool segment. So let's go here. Let's make sure I got this particular aspect. And the thing I liked about this too is your grandfather and you had a lot of interaction, and this is
there are clips. There are clips in this I used from the film, But Something Is There.
Right. So what I'm going to do is, so we both have something in common. My mom was born and raised in Ireland. I lived there when I was a kid, so I kind of identified with what your grandfather was going through. But this is going to be a couple of more minutes, so I just want to talk about it after we see it. So here we go.
Okay.
All in the sky. I fell asleep. I was deep asleep. And all of a sudden, I felt something tugging at me. It tugged at me over and over again. And then I could hear this woman's voice saying, "Get up, get up. You have to go with us. There's somebody waiting."
To follow your heart,
Again,
you need to think ahead.
I did it again.
At UBS, we match your ambition with
waiting outside for you. Please get up. We won't harm you. She got me to wake up. I rolled over. I looked at her, and she was this large-headed shadow. I could just see the gleam of the eyes. She got me out of bed. The whole house was very dark, and as we floated through and kind of walked and kind of floated, we got to the sliding glass door, and I thought for a second that she was going to open the door, but she didn't. She grabbed my hand and she pulled. And as she pulled, I felt myself going through the door. I was surprised. I could see her going through the glass, just like it was nothing. And I felt this little tug as I went through it. We got to the backyard, and in the backyard were several grays waiting, the small ones, like children. They were standing and they were looking off to the east, and they were like looking for something, waiting for something. And she said, just stay here, be calm. We're not going to hurt you. We're going to wait, and something real special is going to happen. I'm standing there. So I looked in the direction that they were looking in. And as I did, I could see the mountains, the ones I used to hike in. And from behind the mountains came this saucer-shaped object, black. You could tell because there were clouds and there were stars, and it kind of blotted them out as it came, and it was heading in our direction. It got very near to us, and as it did, there was a reddish purpley glow coming from underneath that suddenly appeared, very softly. It got over the backyard, this light came down. It was very soft blue light. It wasn't really, really bright, and it looked all around, and it found us, and it shined on us. And when it did, I suddenly felt weightless. It was a very strange feeling. It's one that I would come to know in life later on. I floated up very slowly towards the craft. The small being was next to me, and as I got closer to the craft, a light started to appear in the center of it, or at least off to the side, and it was a doorway, and it lit up, and as we got really close, I could see someone standing there waiting for me. It was amazing. I wasn't scared. It was really quite incredible, the whole experience. And I was really kind of enjoying it. It was almost a Peter Pan moment. The next thing I knew, we were going down this long hallway, and everything looked like it was made out of stainless steel, but very shiny, very polished. It actually reflected things. And as I went down the hallway, there were open doors to the right and left of me. And as I looked in them, I could see these were other rooms, and there were people in there on tables, and they were laying on their backs, and there were grays or beings working over them. And they didn't notice me, and I just kept moving down the hallway till we got to a door that was open, and it was an examination room. As I got in there, I could see there were other people in there laying on their backs on tables, and there was one table off to the right that was, or left, that was waiting for me, and there were little grays standing there. I was taken to the table, and I was put on the table, and I noticed there was a very tall white being standing there, much taller than the other ones. She had big black wraparound eyes, and I say she because I could hear her voice in my head talking to me. It was very familiar. In fact, everything there felt like family. Everything, I felt like this was my real family as a child. And so she spoke to me, and she told me we weren't going to hurt you. They always said that. We're not going to harm you. We just want to do some tests. I wasn't paralyzed. I could move around. It was like I was doing this willingly. So I laid on the table, and I laid back. And at this point, I am starting to get a little scared because she's amazing. She's a very tall, thin being with this large head and these large eyes and these very long, delicate fingers. And she was looking at me. And then she'd look away. And then she'd look back again. And then she bent down into me. I could hear her thinking. I mean, I could hear her thoughts. And she was talking to the other ones, and they were planning to do some sort of procedure. But before they did that, she wanted me to be calm and wanted me to be distracted. So she looked down into my eyes.
This is the most advanced fleece ever invented. That's because bearskin fleece.
She got very close. The next thing I know, I was drifting in space. I was taken on a ride. I got to see galaxies and nebulas and other worlds. It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. And the funny thing is, at the same time, I felt this love and I felt this caring.
There's a black
I heard her
hole
say to
nebula.
me, she told me that I was special, that I wasn't like the others, that I was very important to her and to all of them because I was their hope. This baffled me because I didn't know what they meant at the time. But today, I have an idea. That family I talked about, I think we are related.
Are you frozen, Richard?
I'm sorry. I don't know how I got frozen. I apologize. It happens all the
I thought
time.
you stopped it to ask a question, so I was being quiet to let you
I'm
ask.
sorry. So one of the best, I really, really like the work that I'm just so impressed with the work that you're able to bring to life, not only because of what you're trying to tell people, but also I think it helps those who've had similar experiences to see it. So one of the things I want to say, sorry, if you remember the nebula and the black hole, the one I showed earlier, it's exactly the same picture. And so one of the things that I like to do when it's ironic and we all believe in our own synchronicities and our own life and how things happen. But, you know, as I'm preparing for this show to see you guys, all of a sudden this comes up. And I don't know how I had seen this way before I even watch it. But to me, it just goes to the fact that maybe, Steve, that's what you were saying in this segment, is the fact that, you know, we are them and they are us, and just how connected we are. And then not only that, not that we're their future, or maybe more so that we are them. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, this was clearly more than a year before I found out about Susie Hansen. And if you've read her book, then you see the striking similarities. And
absolutely,
this is not uncommon. You know, I've been involved in this work since really the late 80s, even sooner. But I mean, really late 80s, early 90s is when things really started to come into focus for me. And I had read Whitley's book, of course, but when I read Susie's more recently, it just stunned me because I'd never met her before. I didn't know about her work, and she's been working with so many people, ourselves now included, because of Breaking the Silence, that have this sense about it. And we get a lot of comments where people feel that the visitors are deceitful, they can't trust them. Why should we trust them, was one I saw the other night. But they're far outnumbered by the people who feel the way I just expressed in that older, that's like a year-old video now, that there's some real connection. And I mean, you heard Susan Alloway when being said to her, well, you know, I am you and you are me. And you heard Judy Goldschmidt say the same thing. In fact, the name of her show on our channel is I Am Them.
Yes.
So there's this sort of manifestation of thought that's popped into a lot of our heads recently. And a lot of people are not trusting of it and very skeptical. But what it is that, and even some of the channelers have brought this up, is that some of us made an agreement before we were born on Earth to come here and live human lives. Now, for a lot of people, this is going too far. It's too far out there. But what do we really know? How can we discount this if we don't have any personal experience with it? And even if we do have personal experience with it, when you start running into books like Susie's and other people you've never met and they speak the same language, you have to say to yourself, there's something to this. And I don't think it's sinister, because I would feel it I would know it. I'm not saying it's not possible that we can be deceived and actually feel that the things we're feeling inside aren't genuine, but I really think they are.
I remarked, the remark that I had is that you felt an overwhelming connection and identity that actually leads one to believe then it's significantly more. I didn't let the segment continue, but it talked about Mars and that you all had lived there at one time, but it destroyed itself. And then it just gets back to what part of the phenomena is trying to share, which we are the phenomena, is that we need to wake up, we need to be aware of who we are and to the universe, to everything, and really not deny ourselves, but to reach out and to embrace what is coming. And in both in Susie's book, Susan, your stuff, it's all the same sort of thing. It's not so much that it's fire and brimstone, you guys are evil, you're going to burn each other. However, those things have happened before, but it's more so of evolving who you are and what you really are aware of. Mary, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I think there's one word to describe much of all of this, and that's consciousness.
Absolutely.
And the definition of consciousness, when people say we're all connected, that has to do with consciousness and non-local consciousness. And that's how we are connected.
And then further, the awareness of that.
The aware of the consciousness, yes.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the thing about, and I'm not trying to divest, but one of the things I liked about the age of disclosure, and I know there's many comments up and down, but one of the things it reaches is to the 98% of the population who need to become more aware of who they are and what's going on, so that we can evolve as a species, as an energy, as a consciousness.
Yeah, they need to wake up.
That they need to accept is what you know what I mean. There's a layer to reality that they're just not aware of yet. They need to learn about it. Sorry, Mary, what were you going to say?
They need to wake up.
Yeah, exactly.
They need to wake up. And one of the things, that segment that Steve, that you guys produced, was just an incredible visualization and understanding of that. Of course, people have to get past what do they look like, who they are, my own fears. But obviously with you and others who've experienced it, and we know from our work that fear, that boogeyman, that monster, that's made up of people who promulgate and push the idea of fear. Yes. Everybody else, and if not 9 times out of 10, are able to tell you we don't want it to stop. We want it to continue because it's a new level of consciousness. It's a new level of what we are. We're awake. The light's turning on. It's like a rheostat switch. We're, we are the rheostat switch. We either turn it down deep and we go into whatever that hollows and billows at it, or we turn it all the way up and it becomes brighter and brighter, and all of a sudden we see all kinds of things. So,
and Hollywood does it. Hollywood does it. All their movies, The Matrix, Close Encounters, even Star Wars, Star
Arrival.
Trek, all of them point toward it.
You know, the whole thing about how they look and how terrifying they are with their big black eyes, and in the other beings as well that have been described. Has anybody ever stopped to imagine for one moment how we must appear to them?
Or not?
It would be like us going into a gorilla cage unassisted and coming face to face with a great ape like that can rip you apart limb from limb. We really need to think about not just our perspective, but their perspective as well. We are pretty scary beings, and they're murderous. They're risking a lot by interacting with us and trying to do what they're doing. And no one ever thinks about that. It's always about they've taken me against my rights, and they've done this to me, and they've done that, and poor me. And it's, that's all one-sided.
But it's funny.
There's two sides to every story.
But so Susie Hansen's book, I mean, talk about it just opened up. When you talk, and it went into some very I mean, you had to expand your whole idea even to outside the box about sharing souls. What does soul mean? That's our definition. It's not theirs, right? Because they're talking about energy, but they're talking, and coming here, as you talked about, Steve, with, and in her case, two identities or souls, and how you were going to interact with that and do the journey that you were going to do, and help awaken and tell what you are going to be able to do as what you guys are doing, because everybody has a piece of that awakening. But it's just a mind-blowing potential. But the other thing that I think is wonderful about it is it's so incredible. It's just, I mean, you're talking about, and we talk about this in this field, heaven is what is in here. There's no place to go. It's us realizing that we are already there and we're already part of it, and expanding ourselves to that idea about what that means and how we interact with the others. Again, that's my little pontificating, but I want to get back to can you tell us a little bit about what went in and why you did that scene a year ago and then posted it, because it was incredible.
Which scene is that?
The one that we just saw, the child.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, at that point in time that was drawn from, I had been working with Yvonne Smith. I met Yvonne Smith like in 93 or 92. I met her through UFO Magazine and Don Ecker, and who was the editor of that magazine at the time. And I knew stuff was, I finally at that point connected the dots, and I needed to go see her. Although I knew and remembered a lot of the things, there were lots of details that were missing. There was I got so far and it blacked out. So we must have done, 30 sessions together. And Yvonne was very sweet because I was doing art in exchange for sessions. She wanted art.
You're in her book. Her book shows it.
And then there's a new one coming out too. Well, also the Coronado Mass Abduction, that new version is coming out. I did the cover for that, and my name is being used in it. But going back to the original question, that was one of the sessions we did, because I remembered being in my grandfather's study, laying on the cot there, and I remember the light coming in through the window from the street light out there, which I went back a few years ago and revisited with Mary. We went back to that little house, and boy, was it little, and that street light was still there, and everything was exactly the way I remembered it. And that street light always bothered me, and I never knew why. I knew now. And the picture of my great grandmother, who was a full-blood Blackfeet Indian, was on the wall, and that light hit that picture, and it really was haunting, and it was kind of scary to be in that room. But I remembered sleeping and someone waking me up and expecting to see it be my grandfather or my grandmother, and instead it was the little being. And I remember being taken to the backyard, and one of the things I didn't talk about in that was that I remember them running all around very fast, and they were like picking up things like flower pots and looking underneath them, and just like they were like little kids in a playground. They were just, I got the feeling that those little beings hadn't spent much time on Earth, hadn't really not been there much, and this was like a field trip for them, and they were like, oh my God, look at all this amazing stuff. But meanwhile, the main one was staying focused, and I remember being able to see the same thing my mother described to me later on, years later, before she died, this black hole moving across the stars. And I did an illustration back then for Yvonne, and as it got closer, I could see the little lights on it, and it's almost like the lights were turning on. And that's about as far as I got. And so we did a regression, and that's what came out. And the funny thing about, I don't know how reliable it is. I really can't say. But what happened to me later on is, as I thought about it more and more and more, I could remember more and more and more. It could be confabulation, but I don't think so. But to be honest, and I remembered being shown things that were so important to me. I was so obsessed with the sky and astronomy and telescopes and space and NASA and all those things when I was a kid. And it's like they took me to see things that were shown in that show, and that's why I did it, to share that you know, it wasn't all about them, and it wasn't about putting me on a table and doing experiments. I don't think that any of those things were ever experiments. I think that was simply maintenance. I think that was like going to the doctor and they gave you a checkup, and sometimes they stuck you with needles and probes and things, but it's no different than what our people do. And yeah, they're more advanced than us, but who's to say that their techniques for doing things haven't changed much? I mean, you don't fix something if it isn't broke. Whatever. I felt that the primary reason for taking me that time, and other times too, was to allow me to experience things that gave me great joy and had filled my wonder.
Yeah. Well, I think it came alive with that segment, as the previous segment also showed. And I think it also, besides expressing your own, memories of what happened, hopefully it gives others the ability to maybe sort of identify and gravitate and realize, especially if they need to share that they're not alone, they're not crazy. And the people, as you just said, but and others, what was that? Who am I? I mean, one of the things I thought was pretty interesting when you, even in your book and even some of the other things that I watch, you never ever said, well, it's extraterrestrial, it's aliens. What you said is, I don't know what it is. I don't know. And there's a bunch of old ways of looking at things, but in reality, we don't know what it is.
Yeah, we don't know.
No. I don't even think you can even put a label.
Not even the age of disclosure tells us who we are, why they're here, none of that.
Right. And they're trying to get people started on just thinking about the subject. And that's important. And that's important. Yeah. And the idea is in reality, we don't know. And yet the thing about it is, and that's what I said, not only is there a phenomenon, but we are the phenomenon and we're part of the phenomenon. And that's even more significant. And people realize that they are us and we are them. And I just thought that segment helped along the way. So one of the other questions I had that I thought was, and we're talking about people who can sort of identify, you and your mother, you created this, and I remember it. I think it's called My Mother's Secret, which was another segment that you did, and I do want to show a little bit of that. But tell us about she either didn't believe you, or she did believe you, or there was a reason for that. So, because there's a lot of kids and people who have experience when they're children, and their parents tell them all kinds of things, and that sort of suppresses, don't think that way, and then they, in a traumatic sense, they hide it or they forget about it. So tell us a little bit about that and how that affected you. And what led you to do that scene, that video short?
Well, I was always fascinated with UFOs. I was always looking for them, because once you've seen one, you want to see more. You know damn well, I did, that they're not from this world. At least I didn't think they were. And we lived right under a Nike base during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And I say under because it's on a hill and above our house. And one night I came to, standing in my t-shirt and underpants in the cold on the back porch, looking at a hat-shaped UFO up by where the base is, which was hidden underground. And it was slowly moving down the hill. My friend Mike was staying with me. He and I used to go up on his roof over his garage and sit there with binoculars and look for UFOs at night. He was there that night, and I had a very difficult time waking him up. I literally dragged him out to the porch to see this thing because it was so amazing. My mom heard us. She got mad. I got to go to work in the morning. There's no such thing as UFOs. Go back to bed. In the morning, to make a long story short, she came out, threw a newspaper at me that a UFO had been seen in the local newspaper over the Nike base. And she said, you know, that UFO you said you saw, it's in the newspaper. And that's all she said. And she was always quiet about it. And it wouldn't be till 2 years before she passed when she said, I'd seen you on television with that Whitley Strieber. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. And she said, no, it's not what you think. And then she told me about her experience sitting with my grandmother on the porch, and a black disc hole moved across the stars. She knew it was there because she couldn't see the stars. It was very well outlined, because where she lived, you could see the sky very well, the night sky at night. And it came up to the porch and shined lights on them. And when they backed into the house, the lights kept coming through the windows. And then there was a pause, and I said, so Mom, what happened next? She says, I really don't know. Maybe I should have hypnosis. That's the short story. So that's why I made that film.
Did she ever have hypnosis?
No. She passed 2 years later.
Oh.
So let's see if I can do this without messing it. It's a very good segment here. I'm going to just stop what I have going, but I think it's a very cool thing because, it sort of shows, what goes on for us. So here we go. And here we go. Again, we're paying the bill, so I apologize.
Life can be a little.
We got to get you got to get a paid subscription.
Performance Fabric at Ashley.
Well,
we've got your whole
like
home
anything
covered.
else, we're continuously improving. Anyway.
In the last years of my mother's life, she shared something with me I'll never forget. She lived out in the country in San Anselmo. She had a ranch-style home and a lot of acreage, and she raised llamas and Shetland sheepdogs. My grandmother lived there with her. One night, they were out sitting on the porch, gazing at the stars, when they noticed something strange. She told me as they sat watching the skies, she saw this shadow moving against the stars, blocking them, and it was moving towards her. She called my grandmother's attention to it, and she was getting closer and larger still. And then the unexpected happened. Lights started moving from within inside the object at its center, lights that started to come towards them. My mother and grandmother were unnerved by this action, but they stood up and watched it with fascination. As the lights centered on them, they became nervous and moved into the house. As I talked to my mom on the phone, and she described this event to me, I asked her, so what happened next? There was a long delay in her response, a silence. And I said, Mom, what happened next? She said, I don't remember. I really don't remember.
I know we don't have a bunch more time. We're getting towards the end, but one of the things I think I want you to sort of close with, in a sense, because we're almost finished, is the fact that your mom at the end, even though you were somewhat distant,
we were estranged, yes.
Yeah, estranged, but she finally told you that she had experiences, and that others in the family, you learned even more, especially with your grandparents. So it gives this generational type thing. So as we close from your segment, tell us what you think about that, and give us any closing thoughts, and then we'll let Mary real quick, and then we're going to close out.
Sure.
We're almost done.
I really don't have any closing thoughts. I think what I've done kind of speaks for it, but, don't always assume that because, a spouse or a family member, if they get very disgruntled about you sharing some of this experience with them, that they themselves don't have it as well. And they're very afraid, and they're trying to keep it hidden. And you bringing it up really agitates them. And it's a real red flag for me that there's something more going on there.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's a confirmation that it wasn't in their head either. It's for them, it's like, he's seeing this too. He saw this too.
Yeah. My grandfather was very open about it. He was very open about it. And my grandmother used to make fun of him. And that's in the movie, but something else too. It's kind of a brutal scene to watch, but she was definitely that way.
Well, I think it's important too for people with kids and stuff, like, to start, like my son already has heard mom talking. Like, he's 6, he's got an awareness of stuff. He draws pictures of UFOs, and I just told him they're real. And he's like, I'm so mad. When will I see one? And I said, I don't know. You may or may not. I don't know, but they are real. So you don't need to doubt it if you see it, but I don't want him to ever, if he does see something, I said, and you can come to mom and tell me all about it if something happens. And if it doesn't, that's fine too. Like, it's not, but I just didn't want me to not say anything, trying to protect him from this idea that might cause him a bad dream or whatever. I don't know, but it really hasn't in any way. And so I've had conversations with him, and not trying to plant anything, or just, they are. And it is possible you could run into some of these guys at some point, and I've told him my advice, I said, it's kind of like when you see a wild animal. I said, if they want to talk to you, there's nothing you can do to stop it. So I wouldn't run away or anything. I say, you can sit down in the grass and watch what they're doing. If they want to talk to you, they're going to talk to you. If they're not there for you, then you don't need to go running up. Like, don't Travis Walton it. Don't run up and make yourself part of a scene. So my advice to him has been same with what I just say, just sit down, or you can slowly walk away if you feel scared. They'll talk to you if they want to. Like, and if not, then just, but don't try running. Don't try running out, Don't draw attention.
Well, I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Because, just be open-minded. Know that you're not the only one having these experiences, and that there are other people there for you. You just have to ask, and we're there.
Yeah.
There's some contact information for you guys. We really appreciate it. By the way, we flew by.
I know. I can't believe it.
It's amazing, but there's contact information. We really appreciate your involvement.
We'll put it in the description too. We'll make sure the description has links to their website so you can get all this stuff.
And we appreciate you.
We've done some incredible work, you guys, especially with breaking the silence and everything that you do there. Please keep it up, because I really enjoy the work that you do. And
thank you, Richard.
Thanks for just sharing with us.
And MUFON also is blasting our episodes all over. Like, we're getting thousands of views now that it's up on the MUFON networks and stuff. Like, they're really supporting and blasting the show out. So you're going to get a lot of.
That's nice. Thank you.
A lot of folks will see this, especially in the MUFON world. And also, if you're out there and you're a field investigator and you don't have an ERT member in your area, call Doc, call me, text us. Like, we'll help you out. And we can also put you in contact with these guys. Like, you can send people their way if they want to check out the videos and join their community.
Yep.
We're going to let you guys go, and then CJ and I are going to close the show. So
see you
thanks
backstage.
for being a part of the show.
Okay.
Thank you
so much,
Thanks
both
so
of you.
much
Thank
for all
you.
your support.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I don't know what to say, Richard. It kind of all speaks for itself, like, I relate to a lot, like the breathing in the video. I know that breathing, that terrified middle of the night child, or for Steve, I guess he wasn't, but that, like, it's all you can hear is your own breath. Like, you're just don't want to be noticed. Just don't notice.
Like you said, the noises, the smells.
I know, it really takes you there.
And even Steve was talking about the light, and I know in one of those other segments, the blue light would come in, and he knew what was happening, and others. But great time. I love the stuff that they were able to create with their podcast and the work that they've done, and I'm just glad that they continue it and create more segments and more shows and more ways of reaching out. So
and Earl loved them. Earl Grey loved them. So if you're an Earl fan, definitely check these guys out.
Here's his book. This is what we suggest. It goes into more depth in the story. And CJ, anything closing before I close us?
No. Let's let Bill Skywatcher go and play some video games. Let's wrap this up.
That's a good thing. So we all should remember, just because my path is different doesn't mean I'm lost. Take care, everybody.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Bye.